Hi everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Build With Stakki. This week we have the Chief Sales Officer, Brian Pederson from Adversus, who are a sort of telephony provider from Denmark, but doing a lot of great things. And so yeah, Brian, lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me here.
So do you want to just give everybody maybe a very quick sort of intro onto like what does Adversus do before we maybe move into sort of your philosophy on outbound sales, because I know we share a lot of thoughts there.
Sure. But yeah, Adversus is born and raised, as you said, in Denmark as a little vendor within the call center industry. So mainly born and raised doing outbound and providing software for outbound people, and of course they built a bit on the product since the company is 10 years old. So today we are also covering more than just doing outreach and running campaigns, calling, because that's basic, if you can say so. I think all the features you can add, optimizing on outbound, the workflows, optimization, reporting stuff, this is where you really can benefit from it. And personally, I've been in Adversus for 7 years, so taking it from a little Danish vendor to being that services all over Europe to companies. Before that, I has been running my own call center for 8 years. I've also been on the other side of the table, and of course that is something I use today, speaking with clients, but also where we should take the product. What should how is the future for outbound sales? One thing is to be able to do the calling part, but I think that's basic. I normally compare it to phone. So everyone had a phone, but we have changed from the old Nokias to iPhones and basically smartphones. And the reason for doing that is not for calling or selling text. That's all the features around it. So I think it's the same on the call center industry today. Doing the call and running campaigns, it's basic. It should just be there. It's not an advantage anymore. It's all the stuff around it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is an essential part of any outbound, and that moves us nicely onto, I guess, some of the philosophy you and I like share. Both sort of been from those sort of SDR agencies or contact centers, very similar. But just elaborate for us like a little bit. Like, I know you're very phone heavy, phone first, obviously given where you work, but there's real like thought behind that, and there's like a real philosophy behind why you think that's so important to outbound. Cold calling is not dead, no matter what people tell us, right?
I think we've heard that sentence so many times. The last, I don't know, 10, 15 years that outbound is dead. And now also with all the AI running in, I think we hear once again that it will take out the jobs. But I don't believe that outbound will be dead. And to date, it's not dead. It's working at its best. But I think there's another way of doing outbound today than it were for 10 years ago, where it was mainly doing a lot of calls, running campaigns, and it was a lot about the efficiency. How many calls can we pass through within a short time? But I think that game has changed a lot in terms of which leads I call into at the right time, at the right point, having optimization on workflows, which leads advertising, how are we reporting, how are we looking into the data to be better tomorrow than we were today. So I think it's a lot about all the functionalities around it. So sales will still be people reaching out to other people to sell. It could also be an initial meeting that you're setting up. So one thing is to do the sale, but also calling out to set appointments. Good thing, but I don't believe that outbound will be that at all.
One of the things you allude to there, and it'd be great for you to elaborate on, is 10 years ago, how many years ago we were both sort of maybe in call centers or sort of SDR agencies, and it was, like you said, a bit more of a volume game. It was, everyone, I was always just drilled into me, 100 dials a day, 10 conversations, one meeting, and like that was like your standard goal for every single day. And now you kind of said there, like now it's maybe a little bit less of the volume play at times, and how you can use the reporting, you can use a lot of tools these days to really think about who you're calling and when you're calling them and time it a little bit better. So, and we see this, people talk about this a lot, but I don't think many companies are actually quite worked out how to do it yet. So what do you mean by it's less of a volume and it's more of you can pick who you're calling, when you're calling, and how you're calling?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, we still want to have efficiency in some ways. So that's also the reason why you go with the dialer compared to a cell phone where you type in the numbers. So you, of course, still are focused on having the workflow running, and it should run fast. But I think instead of just having a list of 10,000 leads and then 6 months after you turn it around and call the same leads with the same approach, it's more to dig into it and where do we have some interest, maybe have some workflows running. An example could be, if we should be more concrete, that we call out this list on 10,000 leads and we find out that some of them are in a binding period. Then it maybe makes sense to call these leads one or two before the binding period is over. So that's data that you're generating on the first call that you reuse on the second call you do to them. So you try to catch them on the right time. It could also be a classic one, price. So they say no due to price. It could be we should have another time we call them an introduction. We reach out to them and then call them 3 months after instead of 6 months after. So basically building in this business logic to your campaigns and use the data that we gather during the calls.
And then that's how probably almost every customer we work with through Stakki, we bring it back to those basics. It's actually every single call you have, where are those notes going? Where's the insight from that conversation going? And what kind of follow-up next step can that generate? And how are you timestamping that? And that's what creates that compound over time. And so that's when teams get better and better on the phone, because half their calls over at a certain point will be into people they've already spoken to. It's that consistent follow up, and that's what you're really talking about there. Getting the insights, getting the transcription, time stamping the follow ups, and how, like, I'm sure you probably see this with some of the customers you work with. They think it's just a dialing game, and that's when they start to think, "Oh, cold calling just doesn't work. We're just not good at it." You're missing all of the insight capture that you should get on that first call to use on the second, the third, the fourth, right?
Exactly. And one thing is, of course, to reuse and the tempo do and have everything running within the Data platform. But it could also be something you send down to the CRM system through an integration to provide marketing with more knowledge from the market. So one thing is, of course, we can reuse it the second time. But it could also be we provide marketing with more information about the market, about the leads, so they maybe can start some kind of nurturing flow, and then at some point they will interact, and then they're ready going from an MQL to an SQL, and we send it back to the dialer. So I think it's all the workflow we have, all the data that we're gathering is something we can use. And there's so much public data we can today and we can use, but a lot of the data is something we're generating on a call where we actually speak to clients to get knowledge.
Yeah, and it still sort of amazes me sometimes that people forget that, like, the best insight, or like your best first party intent data, is the stuff that came out of the conversation. It's not, oh, they visited our website. It's not, they downloaded a white paper. The best stuff is when you actually spoke to the prospect. And obviously you can't do that. You can't guarantee you're going to speak to every prospect in all of your target accounts. But when you do speak to people, it's not a binary, I've booked a meeting or I haven't booked a meeting. There is, you've understood what's happening in their business, you know what they might be doing in the next 3 to 6 months, and you're going to use one of those as an excuse to keep following up so that you garner more and more trust until eventually they're ready to buy.
Exactly. You can say you spend so much time when we look at across our clients. Maybe they are selling a booking on 10% of the reaching out to. That 90% of the time you spend is spent on someone if we can start to use that data for, it could also be for product development. What is people asking for? That's actually where we really can gain the value
Yeah.
into the company.
Yeah, and that's people need to have like a level of conversation intelligence from built into their diaries so that they can, like one of the things you mentioned was that feedback loop to marketing and the feedback loop to product. How often do we see teams and that like classic sales marketing competition of, oh, we gave them loads of MQLs, but they don't convert because they don't follow them up. Oh, well, they weren't that good because it's just a name or whatever. It's like, well, sales should be just as responsible for giving feedback to marketing of all their conversations that week, so that the marketing that gets put out better reflects the conversations. So that then what comes, the MQLs that come back from marketing get stronger and stronger. And I think a lot of companies have been a bit too reliant on seeing it as just like a pure funnel of marketing and MQLs goes to sales and SDRs and it gets pushed through. But actually, we should probably look at it more of a flywheel. And that's all the great insight and stuff that you can pull out of a tool like Adversus, and not just as a record for sales, but also insight, reporting, analysis to the product team, to the marketing team. So you actually become a much more, it's an essential piece of the go-to-market stack.
Exactly. So I totally agree. Today we are not a marketing department and a sales department. We are a revenue department where we all are in the same boat. And the better we can play each other, and the more knowledge we can gather from clients, the better chance we have for selling. So I see it more as we are a revenue team, and our clients are running revenue teams where all these old departments, marketing, sales, customer success, for that matter, that's basically a revenue department you are running.
Absolutely. And so, give me a little bit of insight then into how you think like AI might continue to impact that sort of revenue team as a whole. I think a lot of people are moving towards the idea that AI can't really replace your sales reps. It should actually, I think there was a period where people were trying to do that. And I think that's kind of died away now. And it's more of how do we support them? How do we cut out things? But where do you see AI maybe supporting sort of a cold calling culture or like a phone first team, but also like the revenue team as a whole?
Yeah, but definitely that's a very powerful thing that we suddenly have we can use in our revenue teams. And as you said, I don't believe either that it will take over and replace. I think we have seen it a lot in customer success and customer support that AI take over on people that are reaching out to companies with questions, but I don't see it going in the same direction on the other way where we actually are reaching out to clients to sell book appointments. But with that said, of course, it is something we can use. Let's assume we have a client that are booking appointments. You're gathering a lot of data and you need to hand this meeting maybe to someone else. There's so much information there. Instead of spending a lot of time on writing notes and stuff like that, you can do summaries, you can send it directly to them without being involved and spend too much time on it. It can gather insights from the conversation. We can use the AI for looking into conversation to do quality checks. It's quite normal that people have dedicated to check out on quality on the meetings we're booking, the sales we're doing. Instead of doing that, we can set up the criteria. We can basically have the AI running and looking into the quality. And instead of doing some here and there, we can basically do it on all calls and all successes that is made. So I see this as a very powerful thing that really can help out and save some time. And then allocate that time for focusing on, again, a little bit back to being efficient. We can do more calls then without still running with, just like crazy, but do the calls on the right person at the right time and not spending time on manual tasks.
Yeah. And that's where we try to see sort of good use of AI. It's about giving first, like helping to remove some of the inefficiencies in the manual stuff, which gives people back more capacity for a bit more output. But then if you're doing more output, you gain confidence, you get better faster, you ramp quicker. And then you can use it to also support on the upskilling. So you've also got a higher skill level. And I think I'd love to get your steer on this because I imagine you probably see this within your own team. I think that gap between top performers and the rest is probably going to get a bit bigger, because your top callers, they can have everything, all the manual tasks, all that stuff sort of automated away for them. They can then have greater training and upskilling and insight. So they only need a little bit more time for a little bit more calls, but they're going to get much greater results. And it's that lower performers who I think is going to weed out the people who maybe just don't want a cold call in the first place. It's going to weed them out a lot faster.
Agree. Agree. So that's definitely also a point. And I think also moving forward, all the AI can be used for ramping up new employees faster, because you'll be able to cover all. You don't need to remember stuff. Maybe we can provide the right answers directly on a call, but that's maybe more. It's not something we have today. But speaking of the future, where this maybe also can go, it's basically to have the right answers at the right time, instead of having all the knowledge in your head. You could be helped out, having a sales coach basically helping you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see there's tools now which will surface all the whilst you're on the call, can surface the right information on screen for you. You don't have to hold it all in your head or on 5 different sheets of paper that people used to print out, and you can get a lot more efficient. So AI is here to sort of help, not replace reps anymore, and cold calling is not going away anytime soon. Use AI to give people back more capacity. Let's move into sort of our Build With Stakki segment. I'd love to see how, phone first team who live and breathe what you talk about, the stack you're actually using, and then we, that's one of the primary things that I think our audience, are interested in. So if I share my screen, just give us a little bit of an understanding of kind of the structure and size of your sales team before we dive in.
Sure. Yeah, of course we have our own. So we take our own medicine basically, using Adversus for booking appointments. So we have a full BDR team that mainly are reaching out to clients, and of course we use as much of the data we can gather, both from the call initially, but also what we can find on about the company. That could be different indicators on they have some kind of interest, or doing outbound sales, or booking appointments, or what else it could be. So we try to gather as much possible data as we can to basically provide the best possible leads to the BDR team. Then they are reaching out, setting up appointments, handed over to the AE team. So that full process is running in Adversus, both in terms of not spending too much time, sending out the calendar invites, send out the confirmation emails, send out the reminders, all the notes provided to the AEs who should have this meeting. It's basically something we run fully automatic in Adversus. So the only thing they need to focus on is to reach out to the leads that we are providing. So that's our internal team we have running there as well.
Perfect. And so that's that brings us back to one of the key things we believe makes a big difference for people's go-to-market, is that you're helping build pretty much a single place of work. Your sales team don't have to move out of the Adversus platform too much, right? Which we can go into a little bit more detail. But just talk me through, what does that stack look like? What's the CRM you guys are using?
We use ourselves, Salesforce. So we have a full integration between Adversus and Salesforce ourselves. So our team is basically running in Adversus on the outbound part, and then we use Salesforce for CRM system afterwards.
Perfect. And where are you getting sort of the data What's your go-to sort of data source?
We do a lot ourselves, so we have a dedicated person that are basically enriching leads with information. But the main stuff we're getting is coming from Cognizant. So that's one of the providers we use for leads.
One of the staple still one of the staple providers for most companies
Yeah,
that primarily work in EMEA. Big, powerful database. And then, you've already kind of alluded to this, but you've got a pretty lean setup. So are there many other tools that in that stack that the team are using, or are you pretty lean? Because Adversus is, you can automate so many of the steps.
exactly. Of course, on the initial part, the tools that we're running with on top of the meetings that the AE is running. So also to gather data from one thing is to gather data on the initial call, but we also want to gather data on the online meetings. So we use some different tools for transcribing and bringing in information on
Mhm.
meetings. So yeah, we use that.
Anything like Fathom or Gong or
Yes,
Fireflies, maybe?
it's a local Swedish startup
Okay.
tool we're using there, but quite the same as Phantom of Gone.
Yeah. Okay. For the purpose of visibility here, I'm going to sub in Fathom. So you've got conversation intelligence, you've got good data, got a powerful dialer that automates a lot of the steps off the back of the calls in the CRM. Anything else, or is that kind of the crux of it? Which I I love a lean stack like that.
I think it's quite there, yeah.
Amazing, and it just proves like people people these days, and I guess the whole market, the whole sales tech market, and the whole sort of like the LinkedIn noise, and I'm aware that I probably contribute to some of that now, but everybody wants to know that and look for like these silver bullets. So people might scan through all the partners here, and they think they have to have something from every area. They have to have some sort of automation. They have to have a virtual sales floor. They have to have a power dialer. They have to have all these different elements. But what you're showing here, and I know your experience, and I know how much the team are growing recently, what actually builds pipeline is like consistency and focus. And that's what you've got here. You've got the CRM set up correctly. You've got a good dialing platform, which automates a lot of the manual steps off the back of it. You've got a strong data provider, and you've got insight into all of the conversations. And
Exactly.
from the conversation, you've shown us that what you've focused on is creating the feedback loops across everybody, which is going to enable more coaching, going to enable greater confidence, which then enables greater focus, more consistency. That's where you get pipeline from. Don't have
Exactly.
to jump at every single post on LinkedIn that tells you you need this, you need that, you need this.
Yeah. And I think no matter what, still if we have a good setup, we should always be open and see what's out there. So I think curiosity is also a good thing to have to see if we could be better on some area. I don't believe we will never get the perfect setup. We can always be better in some areas. And I think it's always good to have that curiosity. Where can we improve? Where can we be better? Where can we get more insights? But yeah, as you said, I think we have a strong setup today. We also have a lot of knowledge from many different setups out there. So we're speaking with clients every day that has different setups, different integrations, and we of course also have these conversations with our clients in terms of their setup and giving feedback. So it's not we only just provide the tool and it's you're on your own. We have dedicated customer success managers that are helping, giving feedback. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's a really important thing, actually. I think it was one of the conversations I had in the last couple of weeks in one of these episodes. I can't remember, might have been Nooks, but they were talking about that a lot of the tools on the market now are really good. You know, they're building in the right sort of parts of AI to sort of help automate the right things, give the right insights to stuff. So people don't, it's quite easy to get FOMO and think you have to go and work out how to use Clay for everything. You have to go and look at N8N. You have to go and you have to get all of that into your stack. But a lot of the providers and a lot of the tools are building those AI pieces into their platforms now. So one of the key differentiators is who has a CS team or who has a sales team that are genuinely there to help you build pipeline or to help you understand the tool, onboard you correctly, support your team in the right setups, and will give you real advice. They're not going to act as a point seller, tell you, yeah, this is going to help you do this, give it to you, and then that's it.
Exactly.
Because that's
I
not
think
going to.
also, yeah, and I think also something that now we also speak it as Adversus is a data platform, and we are built and raised there. But today we can also do a lot of other things. So I'll maybe more see us as a sales enablement tool today, and some clients also are not surprised, but find out when we have this conversation that you can actually send out emails, you can actually send out text messages, and have, instead of doing the integration, you can have it on one platform. So we also provide more channels than just only leads calling, and that's basically it. So yeah, maybe we are more a sales enablement tool today than a dialer.
Yeah, and I think that's where sort of the trend in the market is going a little bit. And I'm starting to see, and when I talk to users, is that when they say they want a sales engagement platform or a sales enablement platform, like, okay, and because the question they always ask is, we're thinking about getting Gong, but should we use Gong Engage? But we also are thinking about getting SalesLoft and Outreach, but they also have conversation intelligence. So which of the three? I say, okay, well, let's strip it back. Are your team going to do a lot of calling? Are your team going to mostly do email and LinkedIn, or is it the insight and the deal forecasting that you want the most? And it's kind of which one is most important to you. In my mind, it should always be the dialing and the calling, and you can probably look at one of those. That should dictate which sort of enablement tool or all-in-one type tool you can go with. And it's why I see tools like Adversus coming to the fore now as people start to realize, we still need to call. It's actually, we can use AI to get the right data to them to improve everyone's returns a little bit.
Exactly. And then, of course, always be able to integrate and have capabilities of integrating. So if you have a client that really needs the best of both, then they can make the integration. So having a full open API, providing web is smooth and easy to do integration. We also have a team that customers, what are they called? I can't remember what they call now. That's embarrassing when we are live here. But
Go-to-market engineers, integration experts.
yeah, exactly. So solution engineers that are building integrations between Adversus and whatever platform CRM system and helping out there to ask questions and point them in the right direction in terms of setups. So we also have a full team that basically are doing that and providing that service.
And that's why Verse is going from strength to strength, and it's helping people look at that sort of. You're not just point selling; you're looking at their entire sort of system and showing how you can support and work alongside that, right?
Exactly.
And you live and breathe what you sell. You guys are cold calling every day, and you're doing it effectively, which is what we love to see. So I really appreciate your time, Brian. Great having you on the show and giving people a bit of an insight and hopefully some reassurance that cold calling is still one of the best things to be doing. It's always going to be at the forefront of outbound, and that there are sort of all-in-one type dialer platforms that your team can get a lot of work done. They don't have to jump between 7 different tools to get all the most intelligent stuff. There are simple and supportive teams out there, providers like yourselves. So where can people find you? What's the best place for them to follow with what you're doing and catch up with Adversus?
Sure. But first of all, thanks for letting me in, James. And of course, we are on LinkedIn, so Adversus IO page on LinkedIn. It's Adversus. We are active there. People are also more than welcome to link up directly with me if they want to. But we are on these platforms here. But otherwise, the homepage adversus.io.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Brian. Everybody, if you can like and subscribe and follow us on YouTube for all of your sort of sales tech advice. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much.